Hello everyone. Well, let's look ahead a little bit as we are just in this very intense and dynamic month of January with all these many grinding and difficult aspects coming our way in the next 4 weeks. I thought it was a good moment to look a little ahead and give you some heads up that things are getting better indeed. Yes, indeed, they are. So we're getting into the year of the tiger, coming out of the year of the ox. The metal ox it was. And ox is down-to-earth energy. And according to the Chinese, this last month of the year has also the ox connotation. So we are in an ox year, in an ox month. Right now we're getting into a tiger year. And the first month of the new year will be a tiger month too, so there will be some really drastic shifts of energy just in that way seen. So before we get into astrology, first I want to say it is the midpoint between winter solstice and spring equinox, which the Chinese have been celebrating since probably thousands of years as the beginning of the new year. It makes lots of sense. Kind of at winter solstice the seed is planted, and at spring equinox it is born. That's kind of the symbology. So we are having this relationship of these two moments, and that is the midpoint, also known as Imbolc. And it is my understanding, and my research has really given lots of proof that this is the most important new moon. It's a new moon. It's when the sun and the moon meet in the sign of Aquarius. Just want to show you quickly here already. So you see that's the astrological chart we will get into, with sun and moon here in Aquarius at 12 degrees. But before we get there, let's speak a few things about the water tiger we're getting into. The tiger is powerful, fierce, and has no fear. So this in itself says a lot. Tiger resonates with the sign Aries, versus ox was resonating and still is resonating with the sign Taurus. In that context, it is interesting that Uranus is in Taurus, and if we just quickly go to this chart, you see Taurus is here with Uranus. That is the signature of the 7-year phase between 2018 and 2025. So this was kind of really important, that Uranus in Taurus signature in the last 12 months. Now we're getting more into Aries energy. Aries now is the sign of leadership. The Taurus, okay, sorry, losing my thread here for a moment. Let's just go back to this picture. I want to really have this energy get soaked into you before we even go into the astrology, just to lay the foundations. So tiger is known for risk-taking, adventure, has enthusiasm, is easily fired up, bold, audacious. I just found these keywords kind of on various sites, so credit to all these people who have written about it. There's too many to mention, but it is a general wisdom which is around. It's all based on observation. It's basically a 12-year cycle which is related to Jupiter, Jupiter being the largest planet of our solar system. That's why Jupiter has a very special place, and it is that 12-year rhythm. Jupiter takes around the sun, which is reflected in the Chinese year sequence. So again, the tiger hates being told what to do. I found that pretty significant too in the context of what we are experiencing collectively. Self-confident, noble, loyal, humanitarian, fierce protection of those entrusted to their care. That is a good thing. We need that energy. Think of the children and of all those who are not fully understanding what is going on, which are coerced into situations. Now, the year 2022, the number 2 in the end of the year signature resonates with water. There is this 5 different elements in the Chinese. When a year ends with a 0 or a 1, it's metal which rules the year. That were the last 2 years. Metal is energy of high refinement and mental, lots of mental energy, of improving upon nature in a way which is kind of interesting in the context of what we have been experiencing. That whole, I would say, transhumanism is probably a good way to see it in our present time, and naturally the whole upgrade of the natural form of our body. At least that is what is in the narrative, to entice people to go there, to improve their body, to make their immune system stronger and whatnot. So it's all upgrades of nature, resonates with metal. We're getting into water. So the years 2 and 3 are resonating with water. 4 and 5 with the wood energy. So if you're born in a year ending with a 4 or a 5, your element is wood in the Chinese. And if you're born in a year ending with a 6 or a 7, it's fire. And with an 8 or a 9, it's earth. So these are the 5 elements. With the year 2022, we're getting into the 2 years ruled by the element water. Water is standing for emotions naturally, but also for change, abundance, prosperity. Water is a vital force which unites us all, and it's also standing for health. Okay, so this gave you a little rundown. So again, the tiger is a powerful animal, can be very fierce and risk-taking, is a leader, a pioneer, audacious, bold. These are all words to be taking note of. Now let's get into the astrology, because this is really the most exciting part of it. Again, we are doing the Greenwich chart, which always works, and as we go, I will actually have a little bit of a look into the rear view mirror, as I already did when we looked at the New Year's chart. If you haven't seen that one yet, go back into my archive on YouTube. I also was comparing the New Year's charts of the last 2 years with this year's. Shows you really how these charts are working, how they truly show something about what's coming in the coming 12 months. So, first of all, what jumps to mind is Mars is rising. As I have mentioned in my New Year's video, that particularly in Australia, when the new year began, when the day was dawning into the new year, there was a Mars occultation in progress. So this is very symbolic. Mars is important this year. Mars was hiding behind the moon, occulted as it says, for about 3 hours in those early hours of the day, just when the day was breaking, when the people in Australia were waking up to the new year. Australia will take a key role here in initiating this global revolution. This has been predicted by Oracle Girl. It makes total sense. It already is now becoming obvious. Just think of Novak Djokovic. I have problems spelling that name. The super famous tennis player who is now being held hostage in Australia. A really big story developing there. Interesting. This athlete's first name being Novak. You can think about that. Maybe there is some deep symbology that this man is becoming a hero, already is a hero. He will be initiating something there. This is just a start. Just keep watching. This will get very, very interesting. I want to just throw in one chart before we go deeper into this global chart of the coming water tiger. Let's look at the water tiger initiation in Canberra, the Australian capital, and you immediately see this is something. Here we have the black moon rising here with BNR. This conjunction is very exact and in a perfect square with Neptune. This speaks for a trouble, for literally a revolution. BNR is the small centaur planet which represents a strong man, a free spirit, very much expansive, generous, compassionate in nature, that free spirit, that not allowing to be told what to do, particularly if it goes against our personal instructions, our most basic human rights. So this speaks for big trouble, and particularly that square aspect to Neptune. Neptune kind of the symbol for all the confusion, deception, and all the false narratives. So there is this conflict, and it's very much in the open, and it's in the 9th house, which is, it's about our spiritual, or I should say about the Australian people's spiritual orientation, and freedom naturally is a spiritual, I would say, commodity. Not quite the right word, but I guess you get what I mean. It is a spiritual war. I mean, that's pretty clear, has become clear more and more. It is now getting into the mainstream. Australia will be the leading edge. This is very, very strong here with that Gemini rising, and it is the decan of Aquarius here between 20 degrees and 2230, which is the subsection which is resonating with Aquarian energy. Those of you new to the idea of dwarfs, it's the fractal nature which we see everywhere in astrology. So if you divide one sign into 12 equal parts, the first 2.5 degrees being of the same nature as the sign itself, and then every following 2.5 degrees resonating with the following sign's energy. Just this as a short explanation. Dwarfs are very important. They give the overtone, what's happening in that section of the sign. And naturally, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. Uranus in Taurus here in a perfect opposition with Hygeia, this in itself is interesting. And let's now go back to the global chart, the one for Greenwich, and this is the 0 meridian, Hygeia, exactly in midheaven. Hygeia, those of you who are not yet familiar, Hygeia is an asteroid representing health, well-being, but also serendipity. Uranus in a perfect opposition. Yes, I guess it couldn't be more obvious. This is an earthquake in a way which involves health, healthcare, well-being. There's a big battle going on, and this battle will definitely very much intensify as we get into the next few months. January is really just the month where things are still getting more intense, where pressures are getting stronger. February then will be the month where first big breakthroughs will become obvious and widespread and no more able to be suppressed, to be ignored by the media. It will become obvious to a large number of new people who have not been aware of what's going on yet. So by the end of February, we will have an open revolution, at least in some areas on this planet, and this naturally will then the flame will jump, it will catch on, and it will be a wild and a very dynamic year, with Mars rising here, Mars in Capricorn in a close conjunction with Pholus and Quaoar. Now Pholus and Quaoar, their conjunction here, this is just starting to get really activated, I would say, because Pholus was just, not yet fully meeting with Quaoar, but over the next quite many years, these two move both at about the same speed and very slow. Now, Pholus is a radical one in a way. Pholus is a seer in charge of substances which expand our mind, but also Pholus, when activated, stands for the readiness to take the jump, to make the big move. Something we have been procrastinating. When Pholus comes in and gets activated, that shows the moment when we are fully ready to do it. It's like you're standing on a board over the water, maybe on the 10-meter board, and you're contemplating, looking down into the water. And the moment you're finally taking the jump, that's when Pholus energy gets activated. That's when you're finally, all of a sudden, now is the moment to do it. So this is really, really powerful, this combination. And Quaoar naturally is about new ways of thinking. Quaoar, for example, is very prominently placed in Albert Einstein's chart, just as an example. It is that ability to tap into a potential which has been previously locked. It's about creating a new paradigm. And then Venus has just been stationing 2 days earlier, actually, and I have this chart here too. I thought this was telling you even more how big of a breakthrough by the end of January we can expect. Now, Venus has been going backwards since December the 19th, and we're right in the getting to the middle of it by the 9th, just in a couple days from when I'm recording this. There will be the exact alignment. Venus will be most exactly between Earth and the Sun, right in between. That's why Venus is invisible right now. So Venus really is moving faster than Earth on its orbit around the Sun, and in that sense overtaking Earth. That is always a time which happens every so often, every about 18 months or so, when Venus energies is first of all very strong, but at the same time Venus appears to move backwards through the sky. Strong because it's in close proximity, closest proximity to our planet, and because Venus moves retrograde, and I made a video about that explaining a bit more and going deeper into that subject. Please go back and watch it. It's gives you the understanding of what this phase really is. Venus about social responsibility and care, and this is a whole rewriting of that theme we are in right now, of everybody being requested personally to revisit how we are responsible with our family, with our kids, with our relatives, with our friends. It is that deep question to be honest and true and stand in your truth and not avoid that difficult subject just because you might have to go through some consequences you're not willing to. So all that is getting more and more fired up as we go, as things get more intense. People are pushed to be true to who they are. So this chart, the moment when Venus turns direct, we have Jupiter rising. This is a moment of expansion we are seeing here. But also the black moon here at the 4th house cusp. So this is the awakening, collectively in a way said, to what's truly going on this planet. It is really as I said in my last video, it is the time when the scales are falling off the eyes of many, which is very important because we are the ones we have been waiting for. There's no savior, there's nobody coming here to save us, to help us. Yes, eventually we will get helped, but only after we humans have stood up and decided enough is enough, and we have to make the first steps. And this will be coming painfully obvious towards the end of January, that there's really, we're getting pushed more and more in the corner. Unless we change, nothing will happen on this planet. We will go literally into global tyranny. It will be coming very, very dark and narrow. This is our chance, and it seems this is the year we will finally take on that role and do the right thing. A Mars Moon conjunction also that day when Venus turns direct. Again, that Moon Mars energy which I just spoke about, which was strongly active on New Year's morning. This, and then naturally the Mercury Pluto conjunction here also together with the part of fortune. Mercury Pluto is a strong stimulation of mental energies, of thinking in new ways, of expanding our minds, of challenging the mental construct, of pushing us to look at new aspects, new ways of seeing reality. All that Pluto, very transformational, but also it is, on the other side, Pluto is related to the power structures which have to be exposed and dismantled. There's many things there. But with all that powerful Capricorn energy through the month of January, it is that we have to come down and embrace reality, become realistic. It's kind of a definitely not an easy task, but it is important. So let's go back to that chart of the water tiger when it really is initiated on the 1st of February on Imbolc, that exact day when traditionally mid-winter is celebrated, or the first moments of spring. Now let's look at this chart a little bit, what stands out here. So you have Sun Moon conjunct here at 12 degrees in a very narrow conjunction here. Well, it's a bit more than 2 degrees, but still really close with Estrella. Estrella is a feminine force which is ready to come in and clean up and do the job, roll the sleeves back. This asteroid is exactly T-squaring that opposition I mentioned before, and naturally the Sun and the Moon are also T-squaring this opposition, which is all about the, I would say, the consciousness of health in a very general way spoken, and naturally the cleanup, the taking note of what's not right and doing the right thing to step in and bring in solutions. Then Mars is in a perfect 90-degree angle with Salacia. This is another one which is most exact. You see 536 to the minute. And again, Salacia also is squaring Pholus and Quaoar, and then there is Chiron and Maki. That's all different energies which are working in concert, so to say. But the most powerful is that square with Salacia. Salacia is a beautiful energy. It is what we are enjoying, what we like doing. And wherever you have Salacia in your chart, that's what brings fulfillment, what gives you happiness. It is that tantric approach that whatever we are doing, if we are doing it 100% with our total focus, it becomes a creative action, and creativity is when we become co-creators, when we allow the Creator to work through us, to flow through us, to be the ones who make things better, be more beautiful. So this square is very motivating, because it is a wonderful place in evolution we are at right now in the year 2022. This will be celebrated as the year of breakthrough. For the many coming generations, they will refer back to that time. That is when liberation started, liberation from the dark forces which have been hijacking our planet for millennia. This is the turn, this is the breakthrough. Chiron here at the third house cusp speaks of the difficult process of absorbing all that information, which will be pretty much coming as a dam break, as truth finally will gain momentum, when all the false narratives will be flushed out, when people's eyes will be opened. It will be a painful process, a difficult learning curve, an adjustment to a reality which for many is not yet within grasp. Also, Aries in here, which is about challenging all kinds of false narratives and not shying back from conflict. I mentioned in the New Year's chart, I just wrote a little Facebook post on that. Those of you not yet connected to my Facebook group, I'm also doing a Telegram group, Celestial Rhythms. If you're interested, if you're not on Facebook, I'm also publishing most of what I do on Facebook there. So this is just a side note, but Aries has been exactly in midheaven on January the 2nd in the new moon chart. So Aries is kind of the planet of the month, and Aries is about that courage to create discord at first and be bold, speak your mind in proceeding greater harmony and balance, but not to avoid that phase of conflict and of discord, but to boldly go into that stage of expression, even if you have to receive some really difficult vibes at first. So all this Aries very powerfully squaring Pluto, has been so for the past 2-3 years, challenging Pluto, challenging all the power structures. So this has been an ongoing theme for quite a time. Interesting that Mercury here in this new moon chart, in this water tiger birth chart, Mercury is squaring Aries, which just underlines what I said. Then the other strong conjunction, constellation there in the present chart is this combination of energies, which is already right now quite strong and will be intensifying with the nodes shift into Taurus, the nodes move backwards are about 18 months in each sign, and just by January the 18th, the node will go backwards into Taurus, really connecting with Ceres and Sedna. Ceres is motherly love. It is the earth goddess, providing. So this is another hint that this is a very big theme, getting ever more intense over the coming few weeks. How we are providing, are we doing our job? And Sedna is quite a dark force which pushes our nose on traumas, on deep and difficult themes, abuse, addiction, but also alien worlds and unknown secrets. So there's lots going on here in this department, and this will be an ongoing thing for the next probably 2-3 months. I mentioned Pianor and the Black Moon here in relation to the chart as it expresses in Australia, but this naturally is a global theme. The breaking open of the false narratives, fully exposing them, bringing in that energy of non-compliance, which Pianor represents. So I could go on for quite a bit, but I guess I gave you the most strongest alignments here. And let's now have a quick look back into the 2 prior years, Chinese New Year new moons, to just give you an idea how powerful those moments are. So let's start with 2020. That was January the 24th in 2020, when the year of the metal rat was initiated. In the very last degrees of mutual signs, which immediately showed that we were kind of in a in-between space, entering that kind of a transition zone, you could say. And then the Black Moon here exactly at the 7th house cusp. Now this was not really very promising. I was reluctant at that time to even say too much about what I saw, but it was definitely more on the dark side, and as we know, it was Chiron here, and also Neptune here in the 6th house together with Nessus. Then Sedna and Hygeia in conjunction. Sedna, as I said before, pretty dark, difficult energy, health and well-being was getting incarcerated in a way, captured, traumatized. Very true, I guess, no question in that. Also, we had that Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which was exact just 12 days prior, on the 12th of January, which has been a major theme all through 2020 for sure, that conflict, it's kind of the clash of the titans, the Lord of the Underworld and the Lord of Karma, in a conjunction. The spiritual war broke into the open, that conflict between light and dark, which I guess by now pretty much everyone can see that something is not quite right here. So this was the beginning of the year 2020. The Chinese New Year, to be exact. I could definitely find many more things here in this chart if I would take the time, but I just wanted to give you a quick glance of how this shows up in these powerful Aquarius new moons, which are at that midpoint between winter solstice and spring equinox. So let's look at last year's chart, give that also a few minutes. What stands out here is all these Aquarian energies. So again, Aquarius is the sign of that whole idea of great awakening, but also of great reset, of transhumanism, technocracy, and whatnot. Last year, as I said, was resonating, the metal ox very strongly resonating with the sign Taurus. So Uranus here being the planet of Aquarius, in that sense the one which is dispositing all these other planets in its own sign. So to understand how these planets truly express, we are looking at Uranus placement and its involvement in the chart. And Uranus here at the cusp of the 9th house again shows that this is really a metaphysical problem we are facing here, a conflict of another dimension. It's not really about what is told, it is something else. With the black moon here and Mars, yes, it is a conflict, you could say. Particularly as the black moon here is right here at the center of these two. So there was definitely some fierce clashes of energies in the way we look at our world and the perception of reality. The two ways clashing together. I guess it's no surprise to see that also Setna up here. Always very important to look at the major axis of the chart. The main meridian in Greenwich in a perfect square to Nessus here with Okiroi. Actually, if you take the exact midpoint of these two, then you're pretty close to exact. That would be 10 degrees and 12 minutes would be the exact midpoint. So Nessus is pathological behavior in the 6th house, still as it was in the year 2020. It's a pretty similar chart actually. You see in both years we had Virgo rising, Virgo Mercury's sign, but Virgo also all about health and well-being, about service and work. So again, Nessus even more close here, interlocked with the 4 major axis points, beginning of the quadrants, which are the suspension points. You have to think that Earth is here at the center, kind of freely floating, and this is the kind of the cosmic canopy, and this is just a plane of projection we are using here. This is the sunrise point, this is the place where the sun is setting, midday, midnight. So these are the 4 cardinal points, the 4 strongest connection we are having from our perspective, from our perception. It's all about perception in astrology. That's the thing. It's how we perceive the energies. That's how they are affecting us. So yes, Nessus here with Okiroi. Okiroi is the one which works as an accelerator, as an amplifier. Then we have Bianor here again, which was pretty exactly towering over the chart here, T-squaring that as ascendant, descendant axis. Bianor here in opposition with Huya and Juno, showing that people were starting to bond stronger together, to group together, to bind, to build alliances. And Huya, yes, very important little planet these days. Huya about rewriting our past, coming to terms with where we are coming from. It's kind of an energy of resolution, of coming clear with what has happened. And T-squaring here also Orcus and Nessus naturally. Orcus is a Plutino related to alchemy and transmuting energies, transmuting all the darkness. That's what's going on here for quite a few years, which is a process in action, as we have to understand that we shouldn't get lost into polarization, into good and bad or whatnot. It's really two forces working together, and we have to create a vantage point, a third point, and integrate those two. Integrate the shadow. That's the only way we are ascending in that way said. So this is really the process of ascension, of global ascension, we are just getting more serious into in the year 2022. 2021 was definitely the preparation for that. Also, I want to say Aldebaran and Antares here, very exactly in that midheaven, midnight axis. The two royal stars, two of the four brightest stars in the close proximity of the sun's path, and in that sense also the earth's passage through the sky. Antares at 10 degrees Sag, Aldebaran up here 10 degrees Gemini, which is the classic opposition of war, of conflict, of standing one's ground and not giving in. So that has been very strongly experienced by all of us last year. I guess there's no question to that. So just let's have one last look at this coming new moon on February the 1st. And one last thing I want to say is about all the planets here in that first house. You see there's a Mars, Venus, Mercury, Pluto, Sun and Moon and Saturn, all in the first house. So of the traditional planet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the majority in the first house, which strongly speaks for new beginnings. Particularly with Mars here at the cusp of the first house. Just want to say that once more. That's the Aries house. That's the house of the which resonates with the first sign, which is where Mars traditionally is ruling. And again, I want to remind you, Tiger, the year of the Tiger, is resonating with Aries. So this is a true breakthrough year of building a new foundation, starting afresh, going in a new direction. Very exciting. Yes, there is still some conflict here we have to fight through. We have to stand strong, but it is we will get that shadow, that deception cornered. That's what this square means. It is about to happen. So I just thought it was the moment to give you a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. It's worth fighting the fight we are. It's a spiritual war. Stand your ground. Be true to yourself. There's nothing to lose and everything to gain. Thank you, and please share if you like and subscribe. Okay. Thank you for listening.